Welcome to Global Information Security Society for Professional of Pakistan.
Okay, Ji, let's start the session for today. Welcome all of you. And today we are going to discuss Domain 7 Security Operation Part 2. And this is primarily for CISSP course. And if you are looking for CISSP, then this is for your preparation. And you have to look deeper into the security operation because this is the main area in which most of the IT persons are working. And first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Ahmad, and I'm a seasoned professional. I have done my master in computer sciences, MBA, BS Honors Computer Sciences, and I have international certification like CISSP, CRISC, CISA, CISM, CGEIT, ISO27001, 27005, ITIL, MCSE, MCSA. I'm one of the few person who actually have all 4 certification from Osaka and CISSP. I'm the regular speaker and trainer for this training, and I have expertise in information security, IT governance, risk management, compliance, service management, project management, etc. I'm very sure you are able to hear me. If you are not able to hear my voice, please do message me so that I can check it. Okay. So previously on the last Saturday, we were working on this domain and we left at 7 point. Let me go to a particular slide. Yes, this was okay. This was the last slide on which we were working, and this was the last slide. Yes, and we will move forward from here. And we were discussing about the tape media. Now let's discuss about the conduct incident management. This is 7.7 section of the domain number 7. So incident is any event that has a negative impact on your organization's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So incident may be unplanned, and majority of the time it's unplanned. And but in contrary to the computer security incident, it more referred to an incident that is a result of an attack. So you have to distinguish between the incident and security incident, because this is a continuous, I would say, the tussle between the IT and the information security. What is a security incident and what is a computer incident? So if that result occur due to the attack, malicious intention of the action, that is a security incident. And how you can respond to an incident. The CISSP says steps, and these are, first of all, you have to detect the incident. Then you have to, let me open the marker. Then you have to respond the event. Then you have to mitigate that event. And after the mitigation, you have to report the event. You have to draft the report and present it to the management. Then you have to perform the recovery of the operation. Then the remediation steps comes in, and then you have the lesson learned. Once you have learned the lesson, then you have to prepare yourself so that you can detect that incident in your future. So this is a continuous process, and these steps will continue in a life cycle. So if you are able to identify in which activity you are going to perform the incident response, then probably you may find some question in your CISSP exam that in which step this need to be done. Okay, the next section, operate and maintain the detective and preventive measures. So when incident occurs, so what you will do, organization will want to detect it as soon as possible. It shouldn't happen that the incident is occurring and you are not able to detect it. So for this, you have the intrusion detection and prevention system, and it will detect it, and sometime it will try to prevent the attacks. And most of the time, those signature based or heuristic based, they are able to prevent the attack. So what is the basic prevention measures? So there is no single step that you can take to protect all the attacks. So you have to define your multiple preventive measures so that you can protect your organization information asset from the attack. So one of the step would be first step would be to keep the system and application up to date. So you have to keep your system up to date with regular patch management, etc. So you have to remove or disable unneeded services and protocol, and this should be done by hardening something. And you uh, have enable and effective patch management and vulnerability management. Then you have to use intrusion detection and prevention system. So once you detect it, then you can prevent it. Then you have to use up-to-date antivirus, anti-malware software. So then you have to use the firewall. Firewall can prevent many different types of attack, but you can see this is not a single one choice that you can use and protect all your from all your attacks. You have to define multiple layers of the prevention to in order to successfully prevent the attack. Then another important aspect is the which is a basic measure is implement configuration and system management process. So it will help you to ensure that system are deployed in a secure manner and remain in secure state throughout the life cycle. So there is no such uh, unauthorized changes to the system. So these are the basic measures. So one or two items you have to look into, and you have to understand that what is enticed attackers and what is entrapment. So enticed attackers are those that they take their own decision to perform some illegal or unauthorized activity. So you are not attracting the people, but they made on decision that they are going to attack some organization or asset. And another important concept is entrapment. So entrapment is illegal. And this is like, for example, putting the honeypots and activity solicit visitor to access the site and charge them with the unauthorized. It is just like keeping the door open and attracting the person to attack your organization. That is entrapment, and you are trying to entrap the person, and that is illegal. Another concept comes here in CSSP is whitelisting and blacklisting. So whitelisting, as a name suggests, it will help you to prevent the attacks. And whitelist includes uh, identifiable application, authorized application, trusted application that your organization can use it. And the blacklisting is option in which you will try to block the application from running into your organization. Now the concept comes in the sandboxing. Sandboxing provides a security boundary for the application and prevent the application from interacting with the other application. So for example, if you receive some file from your internet and you have no clue how the file will behave, what will do you will try to send that file in the sandbox solution. It will open the file, it will check the behavior of the file, and it will reply you. So this is your sandboxing. It's an isolated system in which you try to process the file, process the information, process the application, and try to judge the behavior of the application. And there are multiple third-party security services as well, and these services include something like auditing and penetration testing, and they offer as a software as a service, or I would say security as a service. So in this way, they will try to have a license with your company, and they will give you the third-party security services. The further concept comes with the penetration testing, and penetration testing is help you to prevent the measures an organization can use to counter the attacks. So penetration may be called as a pen test, and it's the most of the time is done after the vulnerability scan or vulnerability assessment. So vulnerability scan will detect the vulnerability within your system. Then penetration test will exploit those vulnerabilities and give you the proof that yes, there is something vulnerable and that has been exploited. And that is, I would say, ethical hacking sort of. So as we have previously learned about the penetration testing techniques, and we have three different types of penetration testing, and one is called black box penetration testing, other one is called white box, and third one is gray box. So black box means zero knowledge. This is the, for example, the black box. So you will try to judge the security or posture of the organization as an attacker. In white box, you have a full knowledge. You have each and everything of the recipient organization. And the gray box test, in which you have partial knowledge of the system. You are trying to test as a user who have the same access and as user. So that is a gray box testing. So ethical hacking and penetration testing go side by side. So if you are hiring some penetration tester, that is often doing the ethical hacking. So ethical hacking use their own knowledge. Ethical hackers use their own knowledge to help our organization to understand their vulnerabilities and action to prevent from malicious attack. So always ethical hacker will remain in the legal limits. It will not cross the limits and disrupt the operation of the business. So in 7.9, we are going to discuss how to implement, support, patch, and vulnerability management. And remember, this is a very key area in the IT sector, that patch management, vulnerability management, and these actually go side by side. So patch management and vulnerability management go side by side, and bugs and security vulnerabilities are regularly being discovered. So patch management will ensure that you have the appropriate patches applied on your system, and vulnerability management will help you to identify that these are not vulnerable to the non-threats. So vulnerability management and the patch management not only apply to the workstation or the server system, but it actually applies to each and every, I would say, the device, computing device that has an operating system. It may be the embedded system, which has a central processing unit. For example, you have the CCTVs, you have IoT devices, you have cameras, each and everything. So this patch management and vulnerability management is applicable to all. And we have discussed this part. Okay, let's talk about the vulnerability management in a little bit detail. So vulnerability management is referred to the regularly identifying the vulnerability, evaluating them, taking the appropriate step, and definitely then IT is going to mitigate those vulnerabilities through the patch management or the configuration management, and mitigating those associated risks to an acceptable level. So this is a step. So you will try to scan it, you will try to prioritize it, you will try to assess the impact, you will report to the management will try to fix it, you will going to verify it, then you will again rescan it. So this is a continuous process. So this is going to happen again and again on regular basis. So the next steps comes here is understand and participate in change management. And change management is also one of the key area within security and IT management. So managing configuration. So configuration management will help to ensure that system are deployed in a secure, consistent state. So whatever you are changing the configuration, it is always remain in the consistent state. So for the configuration, one of the important aspect is the baselining. So baselining would be the starting point for you, and baselining will refer to the minimum set of configuration to ensure the system will remain as secure. So most of the time, the vendors like Microsoft, Cisco, IBM will give you the baseline, the minimum set of the configuration that should be applied to the device or system. So how you can manage the change? So change management will help you to reduce the unanticipated outage caused by the unauthorized changes. So this is the goal. So the goal would be to ensure that the changes should not cause the outage to your environment. So every change should be approved by the relevant competent authority. And if the change is not approved, then that change shouldn't be deployed to the production environment. So change management will ensure that you can perform the security impact analysis if the change uh, uh, is is introducing some vulnerability or the compromise of the system, then that should be avoided. So change management control will provide you the process to control, to document, to track, and audit all the system. So most of the organization implement a change management process through the life cycle of any system. So next concepts comes here is the implement the recovery strategies. So primary goal of the system resilience and the fault tolerance is to eliminate the single point of failure. So a single point of failure is any point that can cause the entire system to the fail. For example, you have only one firewall, you have only one edge router, so you have only one core system. So if that system fails, then whole environment will be shut down. That is a single point of failure. That is why we most of the time to ensure the availability, the relevant person ensures that the system are redundant, system are resilient to the attack. They can provide a minimum set of the services to the end user. So fault tolerance, the concept of fault tolerance is the ability of the system to suffer a fault but continue to operate. For example, you have environment in your server system. So that is a fault. If in the RAID 5 devices are there, and if one hard disk fails, the system is going to work. So you have to just replace the hard disk, and the RAID will continue to work. So system resilience refer to the ability of the system to maintain an acceptable level of the service during the adverse event. But the fault tolerance is ability of the system to suffer a fault but continue to operate. So you have to differentiate between the fault tolerance and system resilient. System resilient will ensure that it will going to operate during the adverse impact. Adverse impact can be anything, a cyber attack or anything. It will try to recover from the adverse impact. The next concept comes here is the trusted recoveries. So trusted recoveries provide the assurance that after a failure or the crash, the system is just as secure as it was before. And two concept comes here in a fail secure, which is the first one, this one, the fail secure system. A fail secure will default to secure state. So if the system is going to crash or crashes, it will block all access. Nobody is going to have the access to the system. That is a fail secure. The second part is the fail open system. And the fail open system will fail in an open state, granting all access to the system. So what is the bad thing about this one? That if you are going to access some system and you think that this firewall is going to prevent me, what you will try to do? You will try to fill that firewall. So if that firewall is in fail open state, then what will happen if the firewall is going to fail? It will give you full access to the system. So that is a bad thing. But that is also with respect to the organization appetite. What is the availability is more important or security is more? If the availability is important, then fail open system. If the security is more important, then the fail secure system is going to good. Then we have the four different types of the trusted recoveries mentioned in the CISSP. One is the manual recovery. So if the system is going to fail or is the fail, then you have to manually perform the action necessary to implement the secure or trusted recovery after the failure. So administrator intervention is required in the manual. This is because this is a manual. Then we have the automated recovery. The system is able to perform the trusted recovery activities to restore itself against at least one type of for example, RAID, hard disk failure. So what will happen? It will rebuild itself. So that is automated recovery. Then we have the automated recovery without undue loss. This is similar to the automated recovery, but system can restore itself after at least one type of failure. For example, you have, for example, SQL Server. If the SQL system is crashed, what will it will do? It will go to the transaction logs file and it will rebuild the database to the known integrity based on accurate state, I would say. So it will maintain the integrity of the system. So function recovery, the fourth one is the fourth and last one is the function recovery. And the function recovery system that support the function recovery are able to automatically recover to the specific function. For example, it may happen to the, for example, the antivirus. If the if if you have a change management system and if the system is failed during the deployment, and if you have proper change management mechanism, it will roll back all the environment to the previously stable state. And it is same like when you try to install the software, and if the system abrupt you try to exit, it will roll back the system. It is just like a system recovery, system restore point in the Windows. So during the crisis, you also need to manage the crisis management. So it is crisis management is a science and in the art form. So one rule of thumb is don't panic. Just relax and see what the best course of action you can do. So training is very important, and you have to ensure that some of your employees at least know how to handle the crisis within your environment. Another concept with the operation security operation or system operation concept is the alternate processing side. So see, ISSP talk about cold side, warm side, hot side, mobile side, service bureaus, and multiple side. We will see. So what's the cold side is? So cold side is a secondary location. It don't have the equipment at location. Might be not connectivity, not active. So it will take weeks to energize it. Warm side, it has a location, it has a equipment, connectivity is there, but not actively. You have to restore the data, you have to divert the connections. So may take days to hours to energize the operation from the warm side. Then we have a hot side. Hot side is we have a secondary location, equipment is ready, connectivity is there, active data is there. So you just need to divert the system from the primary to the second DR side. So system will be up as per the configuration of the hot side within hours or minutes or within seconds at probably. So these are the alternate processing facilities. Another concepts in CISSP is the mutual assistant agreement. So it is called a reciprocal agreement. For example, if two organizations join head together so that if the one organization face the disaster, the other organization can facilitate it. So sometimes it is difficult to implement because you both parties are trusting each other. So it may have some drawbacks like it is difficult to enforce. Both are located in a close proximity. So confidentiality, for example, two banks cannot probably share their data. They cannot trust each other due to the customer privacy or data privacy, etc. Another concept comes here is the database recovery. So many organizations rely on database to process, track the operations, say logistic and other activities for their continued operation. So you must have your database recovery methodologies, practices, or techniques within your environment. It may include offsite copies, so that you are going to put your copy of the data to some offsite location, or database techniques. Other than that is electronic vaulting, remote journaling, or remote mirroring. So what's the electronic vaulting is? So in electronic vaulting, the database backups are moved to a remote site using bulk transfer. So um, you have a remote location and you are trying to uh, send the data, move the data to the remote location using the bulk data option. In remote journaling, previous one was electronic vaulting, and now you have the remote journaling. In the remote journaling, data transfers are performed in a more swift manner. You have to quickly transfer the data. So data transfer will occur in a bulk transfer, but occur more frequent, for example, hourly basis. So journals, you are doing the data you are sending the data at remote location, but more frequently. Remote mirroring is a more advanced type of option. So it is also expensive. So what you are trying to do, you are trying to mirror the data from your production environment to the disaster recovery. So disaster recovery may be read write, but the primary side may be the read write, but the disaster recovery would be the read, because that is only copying the data from the production side. Then the topics come here is how we can implement disaster recovery processes. So our disaster recovery plan must address at least different types of the backup strategy. So one of them is the full backup. So as the name applies, the full backup store the complete copies. So for example, if first for the first day backup you have 1 GB data, other you have a 2 GB, then the 3 GB. So everything is being copied in the next backup. So it is continuously growing. So this is the full backup. So once the full backup is complete, the archive bit is on every file is reset, mean it is ready to be archived again. So incremental backup. So incremental backup store only those files that have been modified since the time of the most recent full backup or incremental backup. So once the only file that have archive bit on will be backed up. So for example, in day one, you have this one, in day two, you have this one data change, in day three, you have. So incremental is going to back up only this, and this data. Differential backup. So differential backup store all the files that have been modified since the time of the most recent full backup. So you have done the full backup over there, few file change, next day these two files are changed, next day three files are changed. So it will do these backup. So if you try to restore, you need this backup and you need this backup. So that is a, so remember the difference between the full backup, differential backup, and incremental backup. Another new technologies comes here is the disk to disk backup. So it is most of the time is a virtual tape libraries, and it use the it use the disk, and it will try to replicate from your disk storage sand to the virtual tape libraries, which actually contain the disks. It's a disk to disk backup. So in backups, we have a different strategies for particularly for the tape rotations. So in tape rotation, we have, for example, grandfather, Tower of Hanai, and six cottage weekly. So what will you do? Probably let me give you some examples. For example, you you keep the weekly backup with you, and for a month you have 4 backups for each weekend. Monthly you try to uh, keep the copy of the monthly, and each next month you will try to use the cottage of the first week in the next month first week. So that is going to happen. So after yearly or the 6-month backup, you will keep that backup and you will try to reuse that one in the preceding month, preceding year. So this is techniques, and most of the times in your backup solution, these options are available. Another important concepts come here is the escrow arrangement. So escrow arrangement is a unique tool used to protect the company against the failure of the software developer to provide adequate support for its product and there is a fear that it will go out of the business and no technical support will be available for your key product. So if you try to escrow, you will try to have the escrow agreement with the developer. So if that developer will fail, you will try to put the source code in the central location with the dual controls or with some third party. And if if this dispute occurs and no technical support is available, you have the right to get the source code and use in your environment. That is through the software escrow arrangement. So during disaster, you may need to implement the external communication. So you have to have a media liaison with your environment, and you should hire, train, and prepare other person to communicate with the external parties. So in emergency situation, for example, within your environment, uh, communication is very important. You need to ensure that you have some alternate communication mechanism. For example, if mobile is not working, you must have a landline. If the DSL is not working, you may have a radio frequency over there. So that by using this, you have at least one communication mechanism in which you can communicate with your environment. Also, during disaster, your organization rely on multiple utilities, and you need to ensure when you are performing or you are planning for disaster recovery, you have these within your environment. For example, electric power, water, natural gas, sewage services, and so on. And at least your disaster recovery plan must contain the procedure or the contact numbers of these key person uh, for the utilities at the disaster site. And for the disaster, when it occurs, you must have access to the logistic and supplies. And it may happen that you are living at your disaster site for the extended period of time. So, for example, for that, you must have the food arrangement, water arrangement, shelter, and appropriate facilities to continue the operations. So these are the important aspects when you are performing and planning your disaster recovery operations. Another thing is the training, awareness, and documentation. So the level of training required for your organization team will depend and vary on the type of your organization and the expertise level you require. It may have some orientation training for the all employee, initial training who's actually performing the disaster recovery, or detailed refresher, which is every time, every year you have to perform. So these are the training, or it may be some technical or detailed training for the persons who are actually performing the disaster recovery situations. Now the topic is the disaster recovery plans. So you must continuously and regularly test your plan. So testing and maintenance is very important. So every plan need to be tested on periodically basis to ensure that it provides a provision uh, to the ever changing requirement of the organization. So type of the test that organization is going to conduct, and the level of the test is going to be performed by the organization will vary as per the organization appetite, organization availability during the disaster recovery. So one important aspect is having the in the type of the test is the read through test. In read through test is simplest method. You develop the disaster recovery plan, you send it to the persons, they read it, and they will give you the feedback. This is one type of the strategy in which you try to test the DR plan. In structured walkthrough, we have one step ahead. What we do, we will have a tabletop exercises. We gather the person in one room, and we will try to build the scenarios and how the plan is going to behave in that particular scenario. That is a structural walkthrough testing, and we will conclude the meeting with the results and so on. Simulation test. So simulation tests are more of the same as a structure walkthrough. And in simulation test, the team members are presented with a scenario and they develop the appropriate response using the plan. So they will follow the plan. The disaster has occurred, and then they will see how well crafted the plan is. That is a simulation of the disaster. The next level is the parallel test. In parallel test, you perform the parallel relocating of the personnel of your operations to the alternate side, and you will not disrupt the active operations of the organization, but you will just have a parallel operation at the disaster site, and you will try to test and you will try to assess the capabilities of the site. Then we have a full interruption test. In full interruption test, it's just like a parallel test, but it involves a cutoff from your primary site to the disaster site. So your operation will be running from your disaster site. Then definitely the maintenance will comes in. So you have a plan, you have to maintain it. So organization needs are changing, the systems are changing, you are deploying the new product, you are deploying the new services, so your plan must be updated. So you need to maintain your plan at regular intervals. So in case of disaster, your plan should not be shouldn't be outdated. So this section was about 7.14 about the business continuity and its exercise, and we covered the same exercise, same topic in the section 1.7. So we will try to skip this one. So a meeting is going to end in 1 minute because the session is limited to the 40 minutes. And once disconnected, please rejoin after 1 to 2 minutes. I will restart the session again, and we will continue because only I think I would say the 10-minute session is remaining. So we'll try to come back within I would say 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. So keep in touch. The meeting is going to end due to the time limitation, and we will start within 1 to 2 minutes again. Okay. Okay, so we were discussing about the 7.14 section, and we discussed that we have already covered this in the domain number 1, so we will skip this one. So next topics come here is the implement and manage the physical security, and same concept we have already discussed in numerous CISSP domains. So we will have a quick overview because as I told in the introduction video of the CISSP, different concepts are overlapping, and the way I teach regularly to the students is I try to bifurcate the each domain so that it is aligned with the official CISSP sections and each subtopic. So that is why I am not going with the topics, but I am following the section, subsection steps of the CISSP so that you can align your study practices with the CISSP authorized study guide. Okay. So I was talking about the implement and manage the physical security. So in implementing the managing and physical security, in you try to manage the access and control mechanism within your environment. So what you have to do, you have to secure your physical side, including your perimeter, your internal security. You have to separate the data center, critical storage systems, and etc. So that is the best way you can delay the mechanism of the intruder, so that it do not enter into your premises. So perimeter security controls includes accessibility to the building, campus. That is why what you will do, you try to have the fences, cameras, So you try to protect your perimeter environment. Then you have your fences, gate, turnstile, and mantrap. So these are also important that it will deter and it will restrict the person from accessing your environment. So lighting is another important aspect that most of the time lighting is used at the perimeter security. So it will try to discourage the intruders that is going to pass the perimeter security and trying to enter your building. So the lighting should illuminate your position, shouldn't illuminate your position of the guards, your dogs, which is for the security purposes, or the post. So security guards and dogs are also some deterrent and active detection mechanism. So you will try to place your security guards in the critical position or the dogs at some alternate location where they can bark when they see some unauthorized activity or the human intervention. So these are both of the detection and deterrent controls. Internal security control mechanism are also important, and you have to restrict your internal security with your combination of locks, motion detector, intrusion detection system, biometric, etc. So these are all type of the internal security controls that you must have within your environment. Same when you have internal security controls, you must have some locks which actually keep the door closed with the combination of the pin code, etc. So badges are also important within your internal environment that help you to identify the employees, that will help you identify the guests, etc. So every person should wear the badges. It might be with barcode, with your RFID enabled badges, etc. It all depend upon your organization culture, organization security posture. Then you might also deploy the motion detectors or the motion sensor. So it will detect some intrusion within your environment and put the alarm on when something happens at some unusual time or some unauthorized activity is going to be happen within your environment. So it will detect it. It will uh, put the alarm on. So intrusion alarm, which is same like I told you earlier, it can be act as a deterrent alarm. So it will deter. So if you have alarm, so it will deter the person do not enter into the building or the premises. It may be repellent alarm. For example, it will give a very sharp sound, high sound that no one can enter. It may be some notification alarm. So when something intruder attacker enter into the building, it will try to trigger the alarm to the specific person, specific security guard that something is happening and you have to act immediately. Now the last topic is address the personal safety and security. Remember, human safety is always your first priority, and it shouldn't happen that you forget your human safety or human security issues. So personal safety concern is important, such as data, servers, or even entire building. So if the fire comes in your or results the power outage, door must open automatically so that no human body or the living body should be inside. Duress systems. So it is very important that probably you might have seen in multiple, I would say, the Hollywood films that a single security guard is taking care of the all building, and but not you cannot have the all the security guards at all time. So when it sees something happening, so it will put the alarms and it call the other person to help him because he's working alone. So that is type of the duress controls. So when talking about the personal security, it is very important that most of the time the security comes when the person is traveling. So person, most of the time the employer travel with the sensitive data. So when the person is traveling, the device shouldn't contain some sensitive data. So there is always fear or risk that device may be stolen or data may be lost or stolen. There is another option of the having the malware and monitoring devices. So whenever the person or an employee is traveling, these type of malware and monitoring devices, the person should be aware. So you must have to maintain the physical control of all the time, so that during the travel no one can install the malware or monitoring mechanism on your company owned devices. For the personal security perspective, uh, always try to avoid having a free Wi-Fi usage, because it can be in trap for you, and the intruder can act as a man in the middle, and it can capture all of your traffic. So try to avoid public Wi-Fi's, etc. Always try to use the VPN. So VPN is a secure communication mechanism. So whenever you are traveling, try to use the VPN as possible, as much as possible. So this is all about the section of domain 7 part 2, and we have discussed around 16 sections within this domain. And if you have any question, you can ask now. And this is my upcoming session in November. And if you are interested in detail CISSP training over the Zoom or on-site or in person, do contact on this email address or call at this, or WhatsApp or call at this number. The appropriate person will respond you with the detailed information. So if you have any question, you can ask, and further after answering the question, we can conclude the session. So open forum, you can ask. I have one question. Okay. No, okay. Okay, thank you very much all. And the video will be uploaded soon after, I think I would say after 2 to 3 hours. So those who haven't joined, they can watch the video over the YouTube channel, and hope I will covering domain 8 next week. Okay, take care. Have a nice day. Allah Hafiz. Bye bye.